This is a picture, I think, of Maria when she was 5 years old. This is a book I'm reading from called The Body Keeps the Score. And I think this is what Maria's situation is 10 years after this picture is taken. Then there's Maria, a 15-year-old, one of more than 500,000 kids in the United States who grow up in foster care and residential treatment programs. Maria is obese and aggressive. She has a history of sexual, physical, and emotional abuse and has lived in more than 20 out-of-home placements since age 8. The pile of medical charts that arrived with her described her as mute, vengeful, impulsive, reckless, and self-harming, with extreme mood swings, and an explosive temper. She describes herself as garbage, worthless, rejected. This is an amazingly powerful book. We're with the Victim Services Unit that works with the RCMP detachments around Lethbridge and through Southern Alberta. And we have many Maria-like clients, too many. 67% of, I believe, of our clients are youth. And this is not uncommon even in our community. The book is about the United States, but it's not uncommon in our community where we have people, children, who have experienced these adverse childhood experiences. And the science, the medical research is very clear, linking the experiences, those adverse childhood experiences, and future very negative implications. Poor health, likelihood to be addicted, likelihood to die young, the possibility that they just don't have the capacity to be a good parent, to be a good person in the community because they have all this that they have to deal with, all of the pain and hurt and that kind of thing. And if you think of that picture of that little girl, you would never think that that girl thought that she was worthless and garbage. But after years and years and years and no respite, no care, no ability to get beyond that, that's what's going to end up. So the contrast to that is if we could be in a situation where we could do more to help these kids that are, these little people that are in these environments, and a lot of it's pretty basic type stuff, right? Make sure they got enough food, that their brains and bodies are working properly, that they can actually go to school. Make sure they got an adult who's helping them and guiding them and getting them to school or getting them to the things that are important for their life, right? The recreational things and the enjoyment things. And especially making sure that they're not getting neglected or abused or raped. And it happens, it's incredibly sad. So our focus is only the mandate we have and the funding we have is the emergent part, to help to get them through court, to help kind of deal with those situations. But we want to do more than that. We want to also prevent in any way, reduce, restrict the whole adverse childhood experiences that's happening with them. And if we could do that, then here's what we would see. We would see these kids, these little ones, grow up to be adults who are healthy, who are not addicted, who have the capacity to be good parents and to have good lives and to be happy. And so if we could do that, it would be great for that little person as they become an adult, and it would be great as well for our community. The literature says that if you can control adverse childhood experiences, you can reduce addictions 75%. Reduce addiction 75%. If you reduce addiction 75%, you reduce crime related to addictions by 75%. Those two are going to go in lockstep, right? So what we're looking for now is we're looking for financial support in order to focus more on preventative as opposed to just all of the emergent and dealing with the crisis situations. Maybe we can help to prevent those entirely if we can pull that off. By the way, I didn't even introduce my colleagues here. We're with the Victim Services Unit, and this is Marguerite, and this is Lindsay, and Adonis is running the camera. She's too shy to be on this side of the camera. Well, not really, but she's running the camera for us.
And of course, we have the lovely Madison, which is part of us doing preventative-like work and working towards eliminating ACEs in our communities.
Perfect. Yeah, and Madison's huge value. You get a little kid like that's been molested, hurt, beat, whatever, and she has to testify, and she's got Madison in her corner that she can pet and talk to when she has to do that relive that very painful experience, right? So, ACEs, medical literature is very, very clear. More ACEs you have, it's not even what has happened, it's how many. And the more you have on the ACEs scale, the more likely you're going to have addiction, poor health, gambling problems, sexually transmitted diseases, die of an overdose, any of those kind of things. So we want to focus more on the preventative side. Our unit is the Lethbridge Attachment Victims Assistance Society. Again, our funding that we get is only for the emergent part. If we can find some funding, we can engage people, more people, in terms of helping with the preventative side of things. We have people right now that, one, we don't pay them what we should, and two, when we pay them, they end up volunteering another 20 hours a week, which it's like, thank you, thank you, thank you for having such caring, compassionate people that want to make a difference. This is not a quick fix. It's not a check, write a check once and it's done. This is a long-term type thing. I figure I have 20 years of good productivity left in me that I'm going to have some time and some money to contribute. And so in 20 years, I think we could make a huge, huge difference in reducing adverse childhood experiences, making life better for these little people, and that when they become big people, they have way better lives. In 20 years, what we would see is that generation would come up and they'd become parents, and then they'd know how to become parents and what things they have to do to look after their kids and make sure that they can grow up to have the best lives possible. Right now, you have the situation we have now is a function of what has happened over the last, 3 generations, maybe more. If you think in terms of First Nations and the whole truth and reconciliation, it pains me as a white person that what we did in terms of the First Nations people pulling kids out of their homes and taking them into a facility and trying to beat the culture out of them and beat their history out of them. Very, very sad. So anyways, the ask then is if you feel this is an important issue, then perhaps you would consider donating to Lethbridge Attachment Victims Assistance Society. We are a registered charity. We will use those funds very wisely. I've been involved in this organization for 30 years, I guess it is.
Yeah.
But now we've seen our numbers, our need rise crazy, and with that need, so many more children that are part of that mix, which is heartbreaking. So we want to do what we can with that. Now, if you have other agencies that you have a greater kinship with, that's great. Lethbridge Family Services does fantastic work on the same thing. Family Ties, Family Center, the Better Brains, the Lethbridge Early Youth Childhood Coalition, whatever that one's called. There's a bunch of agencies locally that do fantastic work. Support one of those if you think that's a better value for you. For ours, we're a very small unit. Our finances are very transparent. They're on the CRA website, of course. You want a copy of our financial statements, you're welcome to them. We run very, very lean and tight and try and make as much difference we can with the dollars that we have available. Now, you might say, well, gee, you got these volunteers. Why wouldn't you just have them volunteer? We cannot expect somebody to volunteer 30 hours a week. That doesn't make any sense, right? Yeah, we got a lot of volunteers that volunteer maybe 10 hours a week, and that's kind of the maximum you can expect of anybody to be a volunteer. But beyond that, we got to pay them. I mean, that's the reality of it. So, anything else we want to add to that? Marguerite.
Well, I'm here because I'm giving back, because over time we've asked the law to change. When I was growing up, I came from a very abusive family, and the laws were totally different. Now that would never happen. So if we've asked the law to change, we have to balance it out on the other end. Otherwise, what good did it do? We didn't help. Yes, they took it to court, but how did we help afterwards?
Got it.
They still fell through the cracks.
Got it. So these little people are still there, even though the law is supposed to protect them, it doesn't protect them. The reality is, it's after the fact.
It's after.
Yeah, exactly.
That's when we have to be here to help raise them back up again.
You know what's amazing too? I was at a thing the other day when we watched a movie on resilience and ACEs, right? And the people who first, well, you were there, yeah. The people, and you were there. The people who first discovered the whole ACEs thing and the connectivity to the poor health and all of the negative effects, it was like they cried, right? They wept when they understood that connection, right? And have we solved that? No, not at all. Like, I mean, there's movement towards it. There's not enough in our community to meet that need by any means. Other communities have, like Calgary, Edmonton, and Red Deer, have one of these Sheldon Kennedy centers, like for kids who have been abused, that they can go in, they tell their story one time, and there's the whole network is there to support them. We don't have that. We have kind of a more fragmented thing, but it's really, really important thing. But we got lots and lots of caring, compassionate people. Here's 3 right here. Caring, compassionate people who want to make a difference in this, and I'm sure that we will. I met a young lady recently. Her name is Iso Ogumbur. Adonis met her. Did you meet Iso?
Yeah.
I think she's brilliant. I think she's, and one thing that is very, very good with her is that she sees an opportunity, and others agree, an opportunity not from 0 to age 7, but from like age 9 to age 24 kind of a thing. Well, that's still a market, or not a market, that's still people that you can still make a difference, you can still help, you can still do something for them. It's not as maybe as cost effective as in the younger ages, but it's still, if you have that past and you have to get past that past, well then you still have that opportunity. I know when we were at that session on resilience, remember when we did, and it was all anonymous, you said how many ACE scores you had. Yeah. And it surprised the hell out of me, because there was, 20% roughly of people who had like 5 or more ACE scores?
I think it was even higher. It was like over 35 or something. It was a good portion of the people.
And that just shocked me in terms of that's that much prevalent. Like, and I'm, in this regard, I'm pretty much lily white. I have 1 is my ACE score. And I think 1, if you were a child and you experienced 1 adverse childhood experience, I think that'd probably be just kind of a growth and development type of a thing, right? That you could get over that.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, if you have 4 and you have 5 and you have 8, man, without help, there's no way you can.
Well, and so one of the biggest things I think with ACEs that they always preach is that, so I'm an 8.
8? Oh my goodness, okay.
And the one thing that they say about ACEs is that it just takes 1 safe person, right, for this child. And so the way that I kind of look and kind of vision the preventative work that we want to do is more of us being that safe organization for the communities, instead of that 1 safe person for just that 1 kid, right? Like, we can be that safe organization to help out the child and the family, because if we help out the child, we also have to help out the family. Because if you look at ACEs, how many of those things are tied in together, right? Yes. Domestic violence, there's lots of reasons for domestic violence, poverty, neglect, all of those types of things, they all kind of go hand in hand to some degree, right? So you can stop one of them and you can help one of them, but you have to really look at it holistically and really work on that preventative work, in my opinion, in order to create that trickle-down effect later on in the future, right? To really, really help all of those adverse experiences and the repercussions from having adverse experiences kind of diminish.
Right, exactly. But it's not, the child doesn't grow up all by themselves.
Exactly.
And then you're right, you're right, you know this better than I do. But I do know, I've heard as well, that 1 adult who cares, and it could be an uncle, cousin, neighbor, whatever, 1 adult that can make a difference and can help and guide and just protect that young person, so they don't have 8 for their ACEs scored. Maybe they got 2, and that's a lot easier to deal with.
Completely. And I think that a really, really big important thing for us as far as victim services is that oftentimes, as sad as it is, kids don't have that safe person, and we end up being that safe person. And is that a part of our mandate? Absolutely not. Is that the right thing to do? 100%. So I feel like that really needs to be acknowledged also. That volunteering that we're doing isn't always just office work and paperwork. It's with real people, because it's, like I said, it's the right thing to do, and you can't just say
right. And as an organization, we took the stance of doing the right thing to support our communities. So we have to continue to do it. We can't stop doing that. But we need the support of all of the community so we can keep doing that and keep doing it with a professional standard, or
Yes.
we're going to burn our great people out. So we need to support our people who are doing the work. Yeah.
Because if you can imagine, like these ladies do this work, I do not, but and I could not just handle what they do every day. When you have to sit with some little guy, little person that's been beat or raped, and oh man, I just like that was way too emotional for me to handle. But I very much honor that you ladies do that and can make that difference. So thank you very much.
But I also want to say, as much as we do deal with little people, we deal with the big people. Because big people, sometimes they just need guidance as well. And it's not easy raising a family nowadays.
No, and
There
it's
is
never too late.
Never
too late to support someone and tip their scale
Absolutely.
so those ACEs scores will change for them.
Yes.
Cool. Very well said. Yeah. All right. Well, anything else that we want to talk about? Or is that about what we want to do? We're asking you to that reducing adverse childhood experiences is a incredibly valuable investment in the little people and the big people in our community to make our community a better place.
Yes.
And for those people to enjoy better lives. The investment, the value on that investment is huge. For every dollar that gets invested in preventing adverse childhood experiences, there's at least a $7 return. At least. So for $10,000 invested, that's a $70,000 return for our community, right? Huge thing. I would love it if that we get enough resources on that, we shrink down the impact of adverse childhood experiences, the frequency of adverse childhood experiences, or we help with the resilience on the other side for the people that have experienced it. How do they get beyond that? Like that part, when I read this, it was so sad that you think about this little girl, and then now she thinks she's worthless, a piece of shit. Well then, if she thinks she's a worthless piece of shit, what kind of decisions is she gonna make, right? She's like, drugs, yeah, whatever. Take whatever drugs, have sex with whoever you want. Like, it doesn't matter. Nothing matters because you don't matter, right? And that's so sad.
And not true.
And not true. No, of course it's not true. Did that little girl who's got the a black eye, did she deserve the black eye? No. She's just a sweet little girl who's trying to learn how to navigate life.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is our suggestion to you, and if we do this, we can make a huge difference. We could change that where we have a safe use site for drugs here in our community, we can make that a safe youth site where kids go and learn stuff and innovate and play and use their imagination and make the world a better place. And so that can happen. We just have to kind of solve the problem or reduce at least the scope of that problem. So if you are interested in donating to the Lethbridge Attachment Victims Assistance, I can assure you a tax-deductible receipt. If you're a corporation and you want to be a sponsor, it'd be awesome. And if you're more on a regular basis, that's great. If you think that reducing ACEs is important and you have another favorite agency that you want to work with, super. Fund them, support them.
Absolutely.
Like the problem we want to solve, there's a bunch of people that are very smart, that want to make a difference. They just need the support and the tools to make that difference. If you want to volunteer to help, to assist, I think there's an opportunity for that. From the big people perspective, like I was talking to Peter from the Family Center the other day, and we're talking about volunteer stuff. And then we're saying about, like, is there any volunteer role in reducing adverse childhood experiences? Yeah, of course there is, right? And then part of it is if you have somebody who has been incarcerated and now they're released, well, they probably need some guidance and support that they don't come back into a shitty situation and just end up with that in that cycle forever, right? So what would that mean? Well, like maybe just having a cup of coffee and talking some advice. I know even with kids sometimes, I think like a lot of times the solutions that I've heard are like really simple, super like solutions. It's like having a serve and return, having some kind of exchange, being present to listen to them. Iso Ogumber, one of her favorite things that I've adopted, is now mine, is that you make your presence a present to the person you're with, right? So you're focused, you're there, you're not sitting on your phone or looking at text while we're having a conversation. We're having a conversation where you are totally present for that conversation. And that is huge value for people, right? For everybody loves to be listened to, right? So, and understood. Okay, I got off on a little tangent, but you have something to add.
I was just gonna say, we use the word normal, and really nothing is normal, but there is a normal in your life. And if you don't have any kind of assembly of normal in your life, how is it that once you're in crisis, how do you get back to it if you never knew what it was in the first place?
Very good point.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that very, very well said, right? If you have that, then you got something to go back to. This is what I want to get to, right?
Yes.
Yes, but if you don't know what that is, how do you ever get there?
You can't get back.
No, that's a good point. What's
You
your
never had it to
ACEs
start
score,
with.
Marguerite?
I never had it, but I had enough experiences in my life, and that's why I talk about the law more than anything else, because when I was growing up, my father beat my mother terribly, and the law did not protect her. So I believe that if the law changed, we have to catch them on the other side now.
Got it. Makes really good sense.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, a woman was regarded as a man's property,
That's
basically,
right.
And if you could beat him, and it
Absolutely.
didn't really matter, right? And that's
That's right.
like, it's so sad. So
Yep. And if we've come this far, let's take it all the way.
I agree with you 100%.
And I
Average
stand by. Oh, sorry. I stand by. It takes a community.
It takes a community.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah,
Right?
I'm entirely with you. So, and do you know what else? Just as an aside, women are the better human beings. I don't know if you realize that or not, but it's true. Women are the better human beings. And when I talk to people about reducing ACEs, 95% of those people are women, because women are more caring, more compassionate. They want to make a better difference, a better life. And thank you for that.
We can all do it. Thank you.
Yes, I agree. I think we can all do